welcome to Intermediate Hebrew. This is week number 7, and the notes for this class you can find at theregathering.com/page/PFT Hebrew 2. Actually, the notes for all past classes can be found there as well, and recordings of past classes can be found on YouTube on the Passion for Truth video channel. So just go to YouTube, search for Passion for Truth video, click on their channel, and search for Hebrew class with Mark Jacob. You'll find that on there. You'll also find all kinds of things from Passion for Truth on there, so I encourage you to check those out. Okay, we are on week number 7, and we got 2 topics to cover today. One of them is the pronoun. Pronouns. Okay, a pronoun is a word that's substituted for a more specific word. Okay, so he, she, him, her, I, you, it is also a pronoun. Okay, words of that nature. A pronoun in Hebrew is called a milat guf. Milat guf. If you'll remember, the name for a preposition is milat yachas. And milat yachas, preposition, means word of relation. Okay. Milat guf means the word of a body. And that's exactly what a pronoun is. It's a word that refers to a body. You'll see this in a dictionary, abbreviated as a mem, followed by a double hash mark, followed by a gimel, standing for milat guf. So if you look up the word he or she in a Hebrew dictionary, you will find the Hebrew word and a small mem, double hash mark, gimel next to it, indicating that it is a pronoun. Okay, so milat guf, or pronoun. In the notes I've included a full sheet of pronouns, but I'm only going to go over some of those today, and the rest I will cover next week in detail. So starting with the third person pronouns. He, vav with a shuruk, followed by an aleph, pronounced hu. Hu in Hebrew means he, as in that guy, he. It can also be him. Hebrew has one word for he and him. Okay, but it's pronounced hu. And the word for she is spelled he with a chirik, yod, aleph. This is pronounced he, and it means she. Or it can also be her, but not her possessive, just her as in which girl? Her. Okay. So, who is he? And he is she. So this can be a little perplexing at first. You're referring to she as he. And who, of course, you want to think of WHO. But in Hebrew, who is he? He is she. Okay, so these can be used in a sentence very simply. If we were to say, hu ba, the sentence would mean he is coming, or ba hu, we could also say. Now, this would not be good writing because we don't know who he is. Sometimes the who can be added in a sentence for emphasis. So, for example, we have a man's name, Adam. Okay, this is a perfectly legitimate sentence. Adam hu ba. Okay, Adam, he is coming. It's not necessary to have the who here. We can just say Adam ba, Adam is coming. But it can also be included just for a little bit of emphasis. Okay, so hu ba, he. Okay, now he is she. He is a feminine pronoun. So if it is the subject of the sentence, we have to use a feminine verb. So if she is coming, then he ba'a. Okay, masculine subject, masculine verb, feminine subject, feminine verb. Okay, so who is he and he is she. Okay. Now what about they or them? In English we have only one word, they or them, but in Hebrew we have two. If we're referring to a group of men, we use haim. Haim is they, masculine. A group of women is referred to as hain. That's they, feminine. Also them. Okay, in Hebrew there is no distinction between they and them. Okay, that's an English grammar issue, whether you use they or them, but Hebrew you use the same pronoun regardless. Okay, so a group of men is referred to as haim. A group of women referred to as hain. Okay, so them, if they are Adam and David, we call them haim. And if they are Rachel and Sarah, we call them hain. Now suppose we have a mixed group. Suppose it's Adam and Sarah. Some languages have a neuter gender, but Hebrew does not. When you have a mixed group in Hebrew, you use the masculine pronoun, or the masculine form of anything for that matter, when it's in the plural. Okay, so Adam and Sarah are referred to as haim. You only use hain when the group you're referring to contains only women. Another thing worth noting is because Hebrew does have no neutral gender, everything is either masculine or feminine, who, he, haim, and hain do not have to refer to people. They can also be used to substitute for the word it. Okay, so if we're referring to any masculine word, all right, say bayit. Okay, bayit is a house. Of course, a house is not a person. But if we're speaking about a house and we say, you know, back in 1996 I built it, we could refer to bayit as who. This doesn't mean the house is a person. It means that bayit is a masculine word. Okay, in English we would say it. In Hebrew we have to say either who or he. Okay, so bayit would be who because it's a masculine noun. But if we're referring to, say, the land, or a land, Okay, Eretz. Eretz is feminine. So we refer to the land as he, which means she. Okay, it's not that the land has a personality or is a person or even is female, but since this is a feminine gender word, we have to refer to it by a feminine gender pronoun. Okay? And also for multiple objects, multiple masculine words or multiple masculine objects can be referred to as haim. Multiple feminine objects can be referred to as hain. Okay, and a mixed group, just like with people, if you have a group of nouns that are composed of masculine and feminine nouns, as a collective group, they will be referred to with the masculine plural pronoun by default. Okay? So those are the third-person pronouns. And again, they can refer to people or to objects. Since there's no it, we use either masculine or feminine, depending on whether the noun in question is masculine or feminine. Okay, so those are the third-person pronouns. And third person, first person, second person, and third person kind of become self-explanatory once you understand which words fall in which category, but the first person is you. First person is the person who's speaking, or writing. That's the first person. The person being spoken or written to is the second person, and any other person is the third person. Okay, so third person pronouns are he, she, or they. All right, it's somebody other than the person speaking and the person being spoken to. First person pronouns are I and we. So I in Hebrew is Anochi. Okay. Anochi is I. And Anochi also has a short form, Ani. Now, in biblical Hebrew, you will see Anochi more than you will see Ani. In modern Hebrew, you will see Ani more than Anochi. Okay? But both of them mean I, me, myself. Can also be used for me. Hebrew has no distinction between I and me, so if you have trouble with that distinction sometimes, problem solved, learn Hebrew. Okay, so Anochi and Ani. I is the same gender, or I should say either gender can use Anochi and Ani. Okay, it does not matter if you are masculine or feminine. You can refer to yourself as Anochi or as Ani. So in a sentence, if you were to say, I am coming, if you were a man, you would say, Anochi ba, I am coming. But if you were a woman, you would still say Anochi, but since you are feminine, you must use a feminine subject, or rather a feminine verb, to describe your own actions. So a woman would say Anochi ba'a. The gender of the first person pronoun is entirely dependent on the person speaking or writing. Form of the word doesn't change, but you can tell the gender of the speaker or the writer by the verbs that refer to that person. Okay? So that's the first person singular, I. There's also the first person plural, which is we or us. and that is anachnu. Okay, anachnu. Don't quote me on the spelling of that, but it's something like that. On your sheet, it will be accurate on your notes. I don't have those right in front of me. But anachnu is the pronunciation regardless. Anachnu means we or us. And again, there's no different form for different genders with the first person. Whether we means me and another man, me and another woman, or a group of two women. If you're referring to us or we, you say anachnu. Okay, if you're referring to what you're doing, then your verbs need to change, okay, to accommodate the gender of the people doing the actions. But there won't be a different form of the pronoun. Okay? So third person, you must distinguish between masculine and feminine in your pronouns. First person, there's one pronoun that covers them all. Okay? So who is he? He is she. Heim, them masculine. Hein, them feminine. Anochi or ani is I or me. And anachnu is we or us. Okay. So those are the third person and first person pronouns. I'll go over the second person next week, because I want to introduce another concept for this week, and that is prepositional prefixes. Prepositional prefixes, in English we're very familiar with this concept, although we don't probably call it that unless we are English professors or linguists. In English, these are simply word fragments that appear as prefixes that we attach to words. So any word that we see that begins with anti, all right, we know that that word means against whatever the word that comes after that is. Okay, so an antibody is something that is against bodies. Okay, antihistamine, something that's against allergens. Okay, anti-inflammatory, something that's against inflammation. Okay, another one is sub. Sub means under. So submarine, okay, marine refers to the ocean, so a submarine is a vessel that goes under the water, under the ocean. Okay, all kinds of subwords, although for some reason I can't think of any of them now, although there are hundreds of them. Subpar, below par. Okay, these are prepositional prefixes. These could be used as separate prepositions, okay? So a submarine could be referred to as, a boat that goes underwater. I won't write that out. Okay. Or if someone is, say, anti-taxes, okay, instead of using that all as one word, we could say this person is against taxes, but we form one word using a prefix, a prepositional prefix. And Hebrew does the exact same thing. Okay, except in Hebrew, instead of using a little snippet of another word, prepositional prefixes usually consist of only one letter. So I'm going to cover there are several of them, but I'm going to cover some of the most common ones today. First one is a bait. With a shva underneath it. Okay, this is a prepositional prefix. This bait will be directly affixed to the word that it's attached to. And actually, we've already covered two of these, the hey and the vav. Okay? When we want to say the word the, we just prefix the word that we want to make definite with a hey. The word and is indicated by a vav being prefixed in the appropriate place. All right, and a bait functions the same way. Bait means in or with. So if we want to say that Adam is in the house, or in a house, we could say Adam bebayit. Okay, Adam, invisible word is, in, from the bait, bayit, a house. Okay. And this can also be used in the sense of with. So I haven't covered a number of these words, but if I were to say Adam is writing with a pen, okay, I would affix this bait to the word pen. All right, there are other separate prepositions that also mean with, but the bait is used in the sense of either inside something or with in the sense of using. Okay, so eating with a fork, writing with a pen, that sort of thing. It can have either one of these senses, in or with. The other prepositions with mean more the sense of alongside, accompanying. Okay, so that's the bait. Bebayit would be in a house. Okay, be'eretz, in a land, so on and so forth. All right, our next prefix is the kaf. Again, pointed with a shva vowel. And the kaf, just making sure I'm not muted, the kaf can substitute, the kaf prefix can substitute for the full preposition kemo, which we covered last week. Okay. So just like kemo, the kaf prefix means like or as in the sense of similar to. Okay, so if we were to speak of a land and describe it as being, well, it's like Israel, although I can't imagine one that really fits that description. Maybe Southern California to some extent, but not really. But that phrase we could write two ways. Okay, Eretz kemo, the full preposition, Yisrael. Okay, so a land like Yisrael, or Eretz k prefix Yisrael. Okay, these two phrases are exactly equivalent. One uses the full preposition kemo, one uses the prepositional prefix k, okay, which is basically just short form of kimo. Okay? Both of these mean a land like Israel. All right? So that's the kaf. And another is the lamed, again pointed with a shavah. And the lamed prefix can mean 2 or 4. Now this is similar to the preposition el, but not exactly the same. El, we learned last week, means toward, okay? And so el is always used in the sense of direction. The lamed, however, can be used in the sense of direction when it means to. So in that sense, it's equivalent to el. But lamed has another application, which is for. All right, and that is more in a purpose or even a possession sense, whereas el does not have that use. Okay, so if I am giving someone a pen for writing, for the purpose of writing their paper, let's just say a pen for writing. All right, I would affix the lamed to the word writing. All right, I could not use the el for that. That would mean a pen toward writing, which wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense. Okay. However, if I was going to say, I'm going to go to Israel, or I am going to Israel, let's just write that out. Anochi. Okay, I. Ba, since I am a man, so I will use the masculine verb. Or I am coming, rather. So if I'm speaking to someone in Israel, I could say this. El, Yisrael. Okay, so I am coming to Israel. Or I could say, Anochi ba le Yisrael. Okay, so in this sense, the lamed and el are interchangeable, but here's a use of the lamed. Here's a use of the lamed that the el does not have, and that would be if we were to say, the tree is good for fruit. Okay, we wouldn't say the tree is good toward fruit. It's good for fruit. Okay, so ha'etz is the tree. And just to go way back, why is there a comets under the hay? Because it's in front of an ayin. Okay? Is that really important in Sephardic Hebrew? Not so much, but since I did teach it, make a note of that. Okay? So ha'etz, the tree, is good. Now if we said ha'etz ha'tov, that would be saying the good tree. So if we leave the definite article off of the tov, we can insert our invisible word is. So ha'etz tov, the tree is good for fruit. Okay, le prix, and this is a rule I'll get to a little later, but the actual correct form of this would be to change the shva into a chirik. The reason for that is because a word can't start with two shvas in a row. Anytime one of these prefixes is added to a word, and that would cause the word to start with a shva and then another shva, your first shva has to change to a chirik. Okay? So that doesn't happen often because there are not many words whose first syllable is a shva, but pri happens to be one of them. So I'd like to point that out. Ha'etz tov li pri. The tree is good for fruit. And actually, you'll see a phrase very similar to this in Genesis 3. Okay? So that is the lamed. 2 or 4 can be used in either of those senses. Okay, so it has more uses than L. Okay, the kaf prefix is exactly equivalent to kimo, so they are used entirely interchangeably, and the bait prefix has no real separate preposition that's its equivalent. Okay? And I'll cover the other prepositional prefixes next week, and also go over how they combine, because they can sometimes combine with each other, although there are a limited number of ways in which that makes sense. But I will cover those things next week. I'd like to go over the vocabulary sheet that I had last week. Your vocabulary for this week basically is your pronoun sheet. So learn those pronouns and just review the words you've had thus far. But I didn't get to all the words on the sheet last week, so I'd like to go over some of those now. Just a basic piece of vocabulary, sadeh. Sadeh is a field. Okay. Very, very common word in the scriptures. And just to get technical, sadeh can be basically any open area with grass. It can be a field that's cultivated, like a wheat field, or it can be just an open field, like a clearing in the woods. Used just in the exact same sense that we use field in English. Okay, so sadeh. And 2 words that are very significant. Cain and lo. Cain and lo are yes and no. And these words function in a number of ways. You can use them just as they are to mean yes or no. Cain can also be used in the sense of so, as in the phrase, it is so. You'll find Cain in Genesis 1. Wayehi Cain, and it was so, right? Or even thus. Okay, but it means these in the sense of in the affirmative, okay, coming from yes. And lo can mean no, it can also mean not. And lo is kind of the universal negator. So if I were to say I am coming, I would say anochi ba, or ba anochi. Okay, I am coming. If I were to say I am not coming, I would say lo before the verb. Okay? So I could do this 2 ways. I could either say, actually 3 ways. I could say anochi lo ba. Okay, so this matches our English word order. I am not coming. I could say lo ba anochi. This is the word order we would likely see in Hebrew. Okay, verb before subject. And the lo does need to precede the verb. You can also see this lo anochi ba. And the lo is still considered to negate the ba because it does come before it, even though it's not immediately before it. You will see this from time to time. More often than not, though, you'll see it directly preceding the verb that it is negating. Okay, but all three of these sentences mean I am not coming. Okay, lo ba anochi would be what I would prefer. So, yes, lo is the universal negator. Anytime you're going to say you're not doing something, or that something is not doing something, just precede your verb with lo, and it means not. And it can also just be a response to a question. Okay, would you like another sandwich? Kain or lo are correct responses to that question. All right? Okay, so quick review. Today we've covered the third person and first person pronouns. Okay, those are who, he, hame, and hain. The third person, who is he is she, hame is they, group of masculine, hain is they, group of feminine, and all of these words can also serve for it, okay, for an impersonal object. Also anochi, ani, both of which mean I. Whether you are masculine or feminine, you use anochi or ani. And then anachnu is we. Actually, there we go. Okay, so the third person, first person pronouns, and we also learned the prepositional prefixes, beit, which means in or with, kaf, which means like or as, and lamed, which means to or for. Okay? So, we will continue with both of these concepts, pronouns and prepositional prefixes, next week. Shalom.